Today I thought I would show you guys how to make butter from raw milk. We actually are so lucky and have an easy source for our raw milk. Our Amish neighbors, they're actually the ones that we bought the farm from. They still live here. They just sold off a small section of their farm to us. They live directly behind us. Last night we went back there to go pick up our 2 gallons of milk that we get every week because it is just me and Ben, and sometimes we don't even use all that milk, so I'll freeze it or just whatever. But I do have to kind of hurry just because whenever I was back there last night picking up the milk, she told me that her oven is down, so she's not able to make bread and stuff like that right now. So she's gonna be coming over after lunchtime today and she's gonna be making some bread. So I've got to make the butter and get the kitchen cleaned up so that she can have the kitchen here at our house to do whatever she needs to do. So I'm trying to get all of my stuff done before she gets here. She should be here in about an hour or so, but this is a super quick, easy method for making butter, and it's actually going to be in the KitchenAid. Before I get comments or anything like that, always do your own research on raw milk. We have done our fair share of research on it and we feel safe drinking it. We know the source, we know where it's coming from, and we like the benefits that it can add, but always do your own research. And I know that there are a lot of people that hate raw milk and think that you can only drink pasteurized milk. If that's you, then to each their own. For this process, you're going to need milk that has been sitting for at least 8 to 12 hours so that the cream has separated from the milk. Ladle the cream off the top of the milk and add it to your mixing bowl. You want to be careful with this part not to go too deep, just because once you break that layer of cream, then you'll start to get a lot of milk mixing in with your cream, and you want to avoid getting any of the milk. You just want cream for this process. The amount of cream that you get is going to be dependent upon the kind of cow that you are getting your milk from. So each cow breed is very different on the amount of cream that they produce. Off of each gallon of milk, I'm usually able to get a little more than a pint of cream. And I did just want to mention that you can use the same process to make butter from store-bought cream or pasteurized cream, whatever you have. The only reason that this is raw butter is because I'm making it from raw cream. If you want to be able to make your butter faster and with less mixing time, then just cover your bowl and let it sit on the counter for 20 to 30 minutes at room temperature until the butter comes up to temp, and then you can make your butter and it'll just take less mixing time, but that's optional. You don't have to let it sit out. Using the whisk attachment, you're gonna mix it on low speed for approximately 2 to 3 minutes, and you are gonna want to cover your mixer for this if you don't have a splash guard, just because the process is gonna get extremely messy. After 2 to 3 minutes, your mixture should be in the whipped cream stage, and you are going to turn your mixer to a medium speed and begin to mix for 2 to 3 minutes. At this point, you should start to see some very small curdles of butter starting to form. Once you start to see the small curdles of butter starting to form, then you're going to turn your mixer on to high for 5 to 7 minutes. Continue mixing until the butter fat completely separates from the buttermilk. It should look like this, and that's whenever you know that you have got your butter. Next, scoop out the butter from the buttermilk, and I just use my clean hands for this. It's easier than using a spoon or anything, I think, but use whatever you prefer. And then you're going to set your buttermilk aside because you're going to save that, and begin running the butter under extremely cold water. As you're running the butter under cold water, squish and fold the butter to try and get out as much of that buttermilk as you can, and you're going to repeat this process until the water runs completely clear. This is going to help ensure that you get a good butter that lasts. You have to get all the buttermilk out. Once the water is running completely clear and you have no more buttermilk left in your butter, then you can start to salt your butter, and this is completely optional. I usually do not salt my butter, but if you need butter to last quite a while, then you can salt your butter and help it last longer. Remove any of the excess water that may be left over on the butter by patting it dry with a paper towel or rag, whatever you have, and then you're going to put your butter into an airtight container. Now you're going to pour your buttermilk into a container that can be put in the fridge or freezer, whichever you prefer. We are done with the butter making process now, and as you can see, I got my butter here. This will last me and Ben about a week, and I do not salt mine. I leave mine unsalted, that way I can use it for whatever I need. But if you want salted butter, you can add salt to this, and the salt will help it last longer. But the main key to getting your butter to last is making sure that you get all of the milk out of it. So during that rinsing process, you want to make sure that you see absolutely no milk in that water. It can't be cloudy at all. It needs to look just clear, just like water. And then we ended up with a little less than a quart of buttermilk, but this is perfect because we don't always use buttermilk. But what I'll do is stick this in the freezer, and you have to leave headspace whenever you put anything in the freezer, like liquids, because it will cause it to bust. So I'll stick this directly in the freezer, and then I'll just unthaw it whenever I need fresh buttermilk. So it works out perfectly every time, and we're actually not out anything on cost just because we don't have to pay for milk, butter, buttermilk, any like heavy creams or Cool Whips or anything like that, just because we end up trading it out in eggs because our Amish neighbors actually don't have any chickens. So we actually traded them eggs for milk, and it just works out that way. It works for us, and we end up not paying anything, and they don't pay anything for the eggs. So it just works out and is nice to trade. Definitely cheaper than having to buy it at the store, but I understand a lot of people don't have a fresh milk source close to them. So I know it can be hard for a lot of people to find raw milk in your area, but like I said at the beginning of the video, we're so thankful that we have a source so close to home. Like, it's literally walking distance, and we can just go get milk anytime we need it. So if I run out of this stuff and need more milk, I'll just go get more through the week, and it's not a big deal. But whenever you are storing your butter, make sure you store it in something that's airtight. It helps it last longer, and also butter really absorbs the flavor of other things that are in your fridge. So it's really important that it's stored with an airtight lid. And the same for the milk. I usually sometimes will put the plastic ball canning lids on these jars to store them. I have some right here. So this one's a regular mouth, but usually I'll put them on here and put them in the freezer. You can, but these do leak a little bit, so that's why I went with this one this time. But there you have it. That is how you make your butter from raw milk, and you get the buttermilk as a bonus. So hopefully that was helpful, but thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys will like and subscribe.